Hey guys, my name is Mio, and welcome to your episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Robert, and it is, do you think that Maestro and Alibi are overpowered? I actually got to hand it to Ubisoft on this one because at least so far, the two new operators, while they are changing up the way that we played Rainbow Six Siege, they're changing up the dynamic, they seem relatively well balanced. I will fully admit the first time I laid eyes on Alibi, I thought that she was going to be very frustrating to deal with. Having to be able to identify which one was the fake one and which one was the real one when she has 3 holograms that she can toss around the map seemed like it was going to be pretty frustrating. Now that I played against her for a while, the first couple of matches were a bit of a head scratcher. It took some time to adjust to it, but she actually seems to accomplish exactly what Ubisoft was going for. I'm assuming what they were going for was just to slow down the offensive team. Now, maybe the reason why I find Alibi to not be too busted right now is because she requires a fair amount of skill and finesse. Her gadget, while on the surface seems simplistic, if you want to be able to take advantage of that gadget, things become a bit more complicated. And so maybe in a couple of weeks or in a couple of months, when people really start to know the ins and outs of these operators and learn all the tricks to her, she might become a bit more of a nuisance. It's kind of hard to say. Now, one concern that a lot of people have brought up is that she's going to turn into Ella 2.0 because of her primary weapon. The reasons for stating this is that her weapon has a blazing fast rounds per minute, and it's also laser beam-like accurate. Usually, if a weapon has those two stat combinations, it does kind of touch into the overpowered category because of the one-shot headshot mechanic. The reason why I'm not too bothered by this just yet is because Ubisoft has already stated that the recoil is bugged on the technical test servers. It's supposed to have more recoil when the DLC releases, but also this weapon doesn't do a lot of damage. If you're not getting headshots, it's going to take a while for you to take people out. I would actually look at her very similar to Valkyrie. Valkyrie has a weapon that has a high RPM, maybe not as high as Alibi, but it also has a very minimal amount of recoil. And so while it's great for getting headshots, if you're not able to land those headshots as Valkyrie, you're gonna have a hard time being successful. And so as long as they increase that recoil a little bit, once again, I don't think that Alibi is going to be overpowered. Now, as for Maestro, he just seems like he's gonna be a solid, consistent anchor. His gadget, while fantastic, don't get me wrong, that shot component gives him a lot of flexibility, but it's also very similar to a lot of the other defensive gadgets that we have in the game, like Valkyrie cameras and Echo drones. His weapon, I will admit, is a lot of fun to use, and one of the reasons for that is because it has a high RPM and it also has a crazy hipfire accuracy. Now, some people are saying that the hipfire accuracy is bugged, but if you look at the weapon's description, it even states that it has a tight spread on its hipfire, at least in close encounter situations. And so I think this is just one way that Ubisoft is trying to make Maestro a little bit more unique compared to all of the other LMGs in the game, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing. Yes, the hipfire is really powerful, but you would still probably be better off and way more accurate if you just aim down sights. On top of that, it also has a significant amount of recoil. Even though it does have a very high RPM, I feel like that recoil reels in that potential and makes it much more challenging to use. And so all in all, while it's probably too early to tell because we've only been able to play with these operators for a little bit under a week now on the technical test servers, I don't think that they're going to be overpowered or anywhere near as crazy as Lion and Finko were last season. They are going to be changing up the game, changing up the dynamic of Rainbow Six Siege, but it's not going to be where everything revolves around these two new operators for the entire season, which I think is a good thing. The next question comes from Elliot, and it is, what are your thoughts on the most recent Battlefield 5 trailer? It looks good, but something tells me it's just going to be a reskin of Battlefield 1. Well, from everything that we've heard about so far about Battlefield 5, it seems like they're going in the complete opposite direction of BF1. Now, I can see where you're coming from because at least visually they do look very similar, but one good example of how they're making a big deviation is with their weapon mechanics. Every single weapon in Battlefield 5 is going to have a semi-predictable recoil pattern. They even stated that because of this, every weapon is now going to be much more precise and accurate. In a recent interview, a DICE developer stated that if you line up a headshot headshot against someone, and as long as you compensated for bullet drop and bullet travel speed, that you're going to get that headshot. He even said that in Battlefield 1, that's not really the case because of the crazy amount of bullet deviation. This is actually the reason why I'm so excited about Battlefield 5. Yes, the trailer left a lot to be desired. The trailer itself was fairly disappointing, but the more we learn about it, especially these weapon mechanics, while we haven't seen anything, maybe he's over-exaggerating, but if there is this semi-predictable recoil, if weapons are way more accurate, not only is this going to increase the skill ceiling, the longevity of the game, because there's so much to learn, but it's also going to play completely different compared to Battlefield 1, because this is the core of any FPS. You start to change the weapon mechanics significantly, it's going to play differently. Another reason why I don't think that they're going to be all that similar is because of their fortification system. This has the potential to completely change the way that we play Battlefield forever. As long as they implement it properly, this is going to be a game changer. The way that it works is that everyone on your team has the ability, I think the support player does this better, but has the ability to essentially build objects and walls on the battlefield or around objectives. If you want to cover your right flank on the objective and hunker down, you can build a sandbag wall, you can build a foxhole. All of this is going to be possible with this fortification system. And so not only is this going to give players more of an incentive to actually defend the objective and give them more to do while defending other than just twiddling their thumbs, but it also has the potential to make this the most dynamic Battlefield yet. And then finally, it seems like DICE is also trying to focus on getting squads and teams to work together. They're implementing real mechanics to get people to have an incentive to work as a squad, which I also think is fantastic news. And so all in all, while the trailer did leave a lot to be desired, I can fully understand why people were disappointed by that reveal. Everything I learned gameplay-wise makes me really excited because it seems like it's going to play completely different compared to Battlefield 1, and it is definitely not going to be a reskin. We're going to have to wait for gameplay. That should come at EA Play, which is just around the corner, but I'm really hoping and cross my fingers that they're going to be able to create a fantastic Battlefield game. The next question comes from Nick, and it is, what do you think about giving Jackal frag nades instead of a breaching charge? He currently has the lowest win rate and low pick rate according to the chart Ubisoft put out a while ago, but I don't think there is much they can do to his gadget to help that. I feel like he just needs a little boost, and I figured an upgrade to a secondary gadget would do this. I was actually really surprised by this news because Jackal is one of my favorite operators in Rainbow Six Siege. The more I thought about it though, the more it made sense for why he does have such a low pick rate and win rates. I think one way that Ubisoft could give him some loving and give him a bit of an upgrade is make it where when he activates his gadget, he uses his goggles, it doesn't make the screen as dark as it does right now. The way that you play as Jackal right now is you activate his ability, you look for footprints, you scan said footprints, and then you deactivate his ability once again. The reason why you do this is because everything gets so much darker on your screen when it's activated, making it very challenging to see people on darker maps. If you're playing on Tower or Theme Park, you're at a massive disadvantage. And so I think just one great upgrade would be to increase the brightness when he has his gadget activated. I would love to have his ability going at all times just to see the footprints around the map. That's actually one thing I love about his ability. Being able to play that detective and using the heat signature of all the footprints makes for some really satisfying moments. Now, some people might argue that if he had his gadget activated at all times, that might be too powerful because he has all this information readily available to him at every given moment. He needs to have some sort of weakness. The thing is, though, is that his gadget does have a weakness. As soon as you get shot at while it's activated, your screen starts to fuzzy. And so yes, you might see their footprints, but if they get a couple of shots at you, you're gonna have a hard time retaliating when you don't even know where they are because of that fuzziness on your screen. Another way that they could make his gadget more viable is to increase the speed at which it marks enemies when you scan him. Now, this is something that they would really need to test thoroughly before they ever implemented it. You might remember at one point when Jackal scanned someone, it would ping the enemy's location every 10 seconds. They've now dropped that down to 5. Well, if they wanted to make it even easier for Jackal to be able to figure out where people are and really track them down consistently, well, they could track or drop that ping down to maybe 2.5 seconds or every 3 seconds. Now, admittedly, this might be too strong. This is the reason why I said they would need to do extensive testing, because it shouldn't be an I win button for the offensive team. If Jackal was able to pinpoint your exact location because it pinged you practically every second, that might be too powerful. The other way that they could go about it is just to simply give him frag nades. Now, the reason why I'm not entirely sold on that idea is I would rather an operator be viable not because of his secondary gadget, but because of his primary gadget. I think the reason why he is struggling right now is because of the inherent disadvantages of his gadget when he uses it. And so let me know what you guys think about Jackal. Do you think he needs an upgrade? How would you go about it? Do you think that frag nades would be the perfect solution? Let me know down below in the comments. The next question is, do you think that it's possible that DICE will add a commander mechanism in Battlefield 5? So I'm assuming this question is coming from the fact, because a lot of people have speculated about this, where that rocket is called on in, everyone kind of gets flown to the ground after the explosion and takes a bit of damage. Now, personally, I don't think that this is a commander mode. I think that this is the new squad system that they're adding into the game. Now, I don't want to have a commander mode in Battlefield 5 because I thought it was horribly broken from the very concept back in the day with Battlefield 4. You give a lot of power to one person that can completely influence the entire match, especially if your team had a commander and they didn't, which happened all the time because admittedly playing as a commander was incredibly boring. Now your entire team has UAVs. They don't. You have all this information on your minimap giving you that huge edge in those situations. Now, what that could have been instead of a commander mode is that this could be the new squad system. Now, we don't know the exact details of how it's all going to work, but I believe if you do squad-based actions, you're working with your team, you're playing the objective, you're going to get squad points. These squad points will then allow you to call in and do certain actions. You want to bring you and your teammates a little bit of transportation? If you have the squad points to do so, that might be a possibility. If you've accumulated a lot of squad points, maybe you can call in one of these strikes to take out a vehicle or take out people on that objective. Like we talked about earlier, DICE is trying to get squads to work together, and this new squad-based system is one way that they're going about it. Overall, though, this is purely speculation. We don't know the full extent of this new squad-based system, but I'm really crossing my fingers that it isn't a commander mode. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's episode of Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what we discussed in today's video. Do you think that the two new operators in Rainbow Six Siege are well balanced? Do you think that they could use some tweaking? Let me know down below in the comment section. As always, if you'd like to submit your own question for an upcoming episode, you can also leave a comment or by sending me a Facebook or Twitter message. But until tomorrow, guys, have a good one and take it easy.